Hello everybody, this is Hash here, and I'm going to start new tutorial on socket programming. But this time I was thinking to write a code that we can connect two computers, of course, together, and you can use subprocesses to open a shell, open a command line from one computer to another one. I mean, for example, you create a server, and after you have a client, you run a client on a remote computer, and with server you connect to that client, and you can open command line and run some system commands on remote computer. For doing that, you need to use subprocess module, and if you don't know, subprocess module just allow you to open process, and I think it was part of the OS module before, and later they changed it. So if you are using Python 2.7, don't use it anymore. Just upgrade to Python 3, 6 or 7, especially for this program. Alright, then we are going to create two files. The first one, we call it server.py, and client.py. Let me to go down with this shell. Okay, server.py. Okay. Now, first we have to import our modules. Import. Where is my import socket, sys, os, and time. And as you know, time I use it for makes a little bit delay in between the process. Then define first. We can actually do and write this code in many ways. For example, we can write in a couple of functions, and if we want to use the functions, we can write it by a couple of functions, and after we called those functions inside the main function, or we can write the main function, and under the main function we again define the other functions, or we can just write plain script, or we can even write it by class. It depends on our needs. What I have in my mind for this program, I want to write it by inside the main function, and after in later the tutorial I'm going to add a GUI version, like connected to the GUI by tkinter, and maybe I can develop it by classes. So I mean, we can try to write the same code by different methods, different ways, and see by that we can learn more. This is how I learn, so maybe you can do the same. We will try. I don't know. So define main, and for now we write it just here, print. This is a main function. This is the main function. We call it if name equal main. Let's say Python 3 and server.py. Okay, this is main function. So we get rid of this print, and so first of all I like to have a little bit indicator or like a title on top of our command line. Then we clean our screen, os.system.clear, and print server socket, and print some stars. Okay. The process of like opening a new socket, it's kind of easy. You define the socket, you define IP and port, you bind the socket with IP and port, and you start to listen, you accept the connection. The only thing you need to do. And then the server socket equal socket.socket. As you know, we can leave it blank, or which by default the system take it as a TCP connection and IP version 4, but let's define it like for have more accuracy in our program. Socket dot inet means addressing family, and socket dot sock and stream, which means TCP. And alright, now we have two ways, because for obtaining our IP. Server is running on this server, and client are going to run on my own machine, so I need to use IP loopback for my that's running my 127001, and we can just hard code it, or we can also use some other methods to get the IP. Then I'm going to use the second way, so localhost is socket.get host name, and here print localhost we can say local machine and will be localhost. Alright, and IP will be the socket.get host by name. We have to pass the localhost name as argument, localhost, and we print the IP. Okay, let's try it. Yeah, local machine is fronting path blah blah, and IP is 127.0.1.1, which it will change to 127.0.0.1 when the client going to connect. And okay, and what port? For example, we can now the port, we define the port, and like a constant port will be 9000. But for example, imagine you are running it on the server, and you have a lot of ports. Of course you have a lot of ports, and you want to have different ports every time you're connecting. You can make a list, you can make a function, you can, by that function you can check the available ports, and this is up to you, and every program can be developed to million base, depends. So but this is going to be basic server for opening a remote shell on our client. Not 9000, okay, 9000, why not? And here getting the IP port for actually let's make it like IP and port, IP Okay. Where is it? Now that we have our we create our socket, we have IP and port. Now let's bind it. Binding is as you know, it's very easy, so we just write server socket dot bind, and inside the tuple say IP and port, and we can have here, I like to have time dot delay, time dot sleep 1 second, and we just print something like indicator that server binded to IP and port. Server socket binded to IP plus IP and for example port plus port. Okay, now let's line 21. Oh, this is string. Oh yeah, you know what's the problem? Because port is integer and we have to convert to string, so we just write string here. That should take care of that. Again, my main server line 21. What happened? Print IP port. IP. I can't convert integer to string. Implicity. I print servers. Type error. Alright, then why type error? Print IP. But we already have been printing IP. Yeah, my bad, because I thought this is the port, but I have to string here. Alright, server socket binded to IP 127.0.11 port 9000. What else we need to do? We need to put the server socket to listening mode. So server socket dot listen to connection. This number here it refers to the how many connections the server should handle in one at a time. So we just put 2. And now then what else? We can write print time.sleep. The reason I'm using time.sleep because I want to know what's going on in my program when I'm running it, especially when you are programming text-based programs. Actually, you don't see what's going on because like you are not dealing with graphics or something. You're not dealing with games. So, for example, you don't know what's going on your code. So it's better to create visuals with sounds, time, print, and you have a kind of runtime monitoring on your program. So time sleep 1, and after we can say print server socket just server, or no, not even just server, we just say like waiting for clients to connect, because at this point the server is created and is listening, is sitting on a port and listening. It means it's waiting for a connection. And after we need to accept the connection. By accepting connection, we are getting two types of data: connection itself and the address. And so these two variable will be like server for we will get these two variables by server socket dot accept. Address is just the address of client. It is kind of list, and you can print it, I don't know, in index 0 it will be IP, index 1 will be port, but connection is the data transfer itself. You will see. Then we say print server connected to IP, which is the client IP, to IP plus the address index 0, and plus now again the port of the client, because client will connect to this port, but usually is the best way to, when we are creating the client, the best way is let the system choose the port for a client. So every time client can connect to this port, which is 9000 from different random port. And plus again the string of address index 2 1. Okay, when we run this code right now, it will not show us this line because there is no client to connect. But let's see if we don't have any typo or some crap. Waiting for client to connect. Alright, you see we kind of have kind of visual on our text. So the next step is I'm going to write a while loop. I'm going to create a command line for remote shell, and after we are going to write client and connect them. So maybe two video more, maybe one video, I don't know. And after I'm going to develop it by GUI version, and we will see what else going to happen. Okay, thank you for watching and see you in next video.